Discover the touching truth. Widower hires a cook, but she reveals an unexpected, heartwarming bond. Jack stood in the kitchen of his family farm, the silence practically deafening. The echoes of laughter that once filled the house left a void that felt too large to traverse. Mary, with her warmth and brilliance, had infused life into these walls. Now they echoed only his heartache. With his teenage daughter, Lily, retreating into her grief, Jack could feel the weight of his responsibilities pressing down with an unyielding force. The tractor had broken down again, the crops needed tending, and all he could manage was to hold on to the remnants of a life filled with love. Hiring a cook was a desperate decision, but he had to try something. When Maria arrived, she brought hope and a touch of light, eager to create a stable life for her son. Yet Jack felt the tension in his gut, stirred by the quiet discomfort of opening up their home to someone new. Did he dare let her in? Each glance in her direction over the kitchen counter sent ripples of uncertainty through him. An unfamiliar longing stirred within, clouded with guilt. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As he watched Maria move through the kitchen, it grew harder to ignore the duality in his heart, the need for connection bubbling against the instinct to keep his distance. Memories of Mary flickered like images from a long-lost film, each dish presented with Mary's touch, now a ghostly reminder of the life they'd shared. Yet when Lily shared her passion for cooking, Jack found a flicker of warmth amidst the ache. She had honed her skills under Mary's patient guidance, but as they prepared meals together, the atmosphere became charged with complexities. Could she truly step into this world of flavor and tradition without being swallowed by grief? Lily's desire to honor her late mother took on a life of its own, manifesting into plans for the county cooking competition. Jack's unease grew. The very idea of Lily showcasing her talent was both precious and terrifying. He grappled with the thought, would stepping into this arena only worsen her pain, or might it offer a chance to emerge from the shadows of sorrow? The kitchen, a space that should have felt warm and inviting, turned into a battleground within his heart, conflicting fears colliding and reverberating off the walls. Each stir of the pot, each slice of the knife echoed their unresolved emotions. Caught in this swirl, Jack's insides twisted. He sensed the looming challenge ahead, hidden family secrets about to resurface, threatening Lily's innocence. The kitchen was no longer just a place for nourishment. It was now a vessel filled with tension, each meal preparing them for a reckoning that felt agonizingly inevitable. Would he honor Mary's legacy by letting Lily celebrate her talent, or would protecting her hold them both back? As the aroma of cooking filled the air, Jack couldn't help but wonder, could he find the courage to confront the ghosts lingering in their lives, and would Lily's determination lead them both toward healing, even at the risk of exposing long-buried truths? Jack lingered in the fading light of the kitchen, watching as Maria arranged the ingredients with a deftness that caught him off guard. She moved as if she belonged there, her presence both welcome and unsettling. He shifted his gaze, distracted by thoughts swirling within him. How could this be? Was he really considering allowing Maria to slip into the lives he'd spent the last year trying to hold together? The tension was palpable. It was more than uncertainty. It was a deep-rooted fear of betrayal, of the unfamiliar taking up residence in his shattered home. The weight of his past pressed heavily on him, making every decision feel monumental. Yet, at the same time, watching Lily attempt to connect with the kitchen felt like viewing a flickering flame, delicate, yet strong enough to survive. As dinner simmered on the stove, the kitchen transformed, not just into a place for preparing meals, but into a crucible forging new possibilities. Maria's laughter pierced through his thoughts, sending jolts of unexpected warmth through his heart. He'd fought so hard to keep Lily away from the pain of life after Mary, yet here was Maria, drawing them both out of a stubborn cocoon of grief. "Why don't you come help us?" Maria called to Lily, who had been retreating further upstairs. There was a vulnerability in her voice that struck a chord in Jack. Lily hesitated, standing on a precipice of decision, the same precipice Jack found himself teetering upon. He could almost see the wheels turning in her mind, wondering if she dared step into the kitchen where memories lingered near each pot and pan. Would she allow Maria's light to spark again where Mary had left dark shadows? She made a small, determined nod, rushing down the stairs to join them. As the three of them gathered around the countertop, Jack watched Lily's joy begin to emerge, taking on the role of sous chef with renewed confidence, her smile flickering like a beacon. "Do you remember how Mom used to make her special sauce?" she asked, gleaming with hope. Jack's heart twisted painfully. It had been the very first dish he had ever eaten that Mary had prepared. The recipe had been passed down from her family, a culinary tradition he cherished, but had let fade as the years of sorrow consumed his mind. Could he risk embracing that history now? "Can you teach me?" Maria's voice cut through his brooding thoughts. It was a simple request, but it hung in the air like a challenge. Jack's mind raced. This was an opportunity, not just for Lily to remember her mother, but also for him to confront the other half of his duality. He could feel the urge swelling within to reconnect with the life he once cherished, to usher new experiences into their grief-laden existence. In that moment, he realized that it wasn't just about honoring Mary anymore. It was about carving a new path forward. The internal conflict didn't ease, but transformed, shifting in complexity. Just as he allowed himself to imagine a possibility, making room for both the old and the new, an unforeseen pang of doubt surfaced. Would his willingness to embrace change destabilize their healing? "All right," he said, surprising even himself. "Let's make Mom's sauce." As they advanced into unfamiliar yet comforting territory, the air filled with laughter and shared memories. Yet a nagging doubt lingered, one that whispered questions of loyalty to the past and fears of moving forward. With the stove's heat rising around them, Jack knew that this was only the beginning. Each moment would bring a reckoning that could either bind them closer or unravel everything he had fought to preserve. Could he handle what lay ahead, living in the liminality of memories and new beginnings? And as he served the first bites, it dawned on him that the kitchen was now witnessing not only the revival of a recipe, but the building of a new narrative. But what he didn't know yet was that beneath the surface, old family secrets were ready to breach the fragile peace they had begun to create. Jack watched as the sauce bubbled gently, the familiar aroma washing over him like a wave of bittersweet nostalgia. Each stir unearthed echoes of laughter and warmth from a time long past, yet with every passing minute he felt a softening around the edges of his resolve. Sharing the kitchen, standing shoulder to shoulder with Maria and Lily, was altering something deep within him, and he couldn't quite identify if it was healing or complicating the fragile balance they'd only just begun to forge. "Do you think Mom would approve?" Lily asked, a hint of mischief dancing in her eyes as she bit into the bread, glistening with olive oil. Jack hesitated. The question loomed larger than he expected. It wasn't just about the sauce, or even just the nostalgia. It was the implications of moving forward. "I think she'd love that we're trying," he replied, the words feeling heavier than they should. "Good," chimed in Maria, breaking the tension with her easy laughter, "because I'm not leaving this kitchen until we've perfected it."
The way her voice broke through his tangled thoughts surprised him. There was an authority there, a competence that pushed him to lean into the experience.
Perhaps together they could dismantle some of the apprehension that had cloaked their lives since Mary's passing. As they poured the sauce over pasta, the kitchen filled with steam that fogged the windows, blurring the line between past and present. Jack found himself captivated by the dynamic emerging in front of him. Lily laughed easily, her face alight with joy, and Maria, with her infectious enthusiasm, kept drawing him into their shared moments. It was intoxicating, yet somewhere in Jack's mind a warning bell rang, fretting over boundaries being blurred. When dinner was served, the three of them sat around the table, the air buzzing with the warmth of sibling-like camaraderie. Jack savored the moment, but also felt the inevitable pull of self-reflection. Could a new familial bond replace the void left by Mary? "What do you think Dad thinks about all this?" Lily asked suddenly, her gaze intense, searching for assurance. The realization hit him like a gust of cold air. Jack recognized the weight behind her question. For the first time in a long while, he was not just an observer of his family's grief, he was a participant in reshaping it. "I think he thinks it's good for us," Jack said, focusing on his daughter's honest expression. But as he spoke, a stab of fear pierced him. Was he rushing to conclusions? After dinner, the laughter softened, and with plates cleared, silence reigned. The weight of unspoken thoughts wrapped itself around the table. It was an unsettling juxtaposition, a moment of peace amidst swirling doubts. As Lily excused herself to clean up, Jack found himself facing Maria. The spaces between them echoed with everything unsaid, a compelling tension simmering just beneath the surface. Maria's eyes searched his, and for the first time he saw a flicker of uncertainty mirrored in her expression. "Jack," she began, hesitating before choosing her words carefully, "I know this transition isn't easy. We are all navigating something here." He held his breath, knowing she was hinting at the complexity of their arrangement. "I appreciate you being here, Maria," he said, his voice steady, but deep inside a tempest brewed. Her gaze shifted, the air thickening as she approached the core of their delicate foundation. "We can support each other, but I want you to be honest about your fears. The past kinks together with the present, but we can't ignore it." Her frankness caught him off guard. For a moment panic clawed at him, a reminder that while the sauce simmered beautifully, the motivations binding them were raw and untested. "Trust, Maria, is hard for me right now," he confessed, his admission escaping before he had the chance to reel it back. Her nod revealed an understanding that began to solidify the camaraderie that was emerging. She wouldn't let him slide into denial. She was offering him a profound reflection, an invitation to navigate uncertainty together. As he moved to the sink, washing the dishes in a mechanical rhythm, the gravity of their conversation hung over him. He sensed her presence lingering nearby, an unspoken promise that this partnership had the potential to delve deeper into both their wounds and newfound hope. But just as relief surged, a memory blinked into focus. The unopened box of Mary's keepsakes tucked away in his study. The remnants of a life he yearned to honor loomed large. Tomorrow might demand facing those remnants, unveiling secrets Jack wasn't sure he was ready to confront. The internal struggle intensified within him, leaving him to wonder if laying bare the past could threaten the delicate stability he had only begun to build with Maria and Lily. And as he scrubbed the last plate, a chilling question reverberated in his mind. What truths would emerge when the past finally forced its way into their present? The morning light slipped through the curtains, casting a warm glow in the study where Jack had stashed the remnants of his past. The unopened box, sitting innocuously in the corner, felt like a weight on his chest, a Pandora's box that had become too heavy to ignore.
He could almost hear the echoes of laughter and the whispers of memories intertwined with the porcelain trinkets and photographs within. But today, the thought of facing them was a gnawing anxiety he couldn't shake off. Jack's resolve flickered like an unsteady flame as he first brewed his coffee. He contemplated slipping back into the safe routines he'd established since Mary's death, allowing distraction to shield him from confronting his tangled emotions. However, recalling the ease of laughter shared with Maria and Lily around the dinner table rekindled a flicker of desire for connection, real connection that transcended grief. The coffee brewed slowly, each gurgle reminiscent of the bubbling sauce from the night before, pulling him further into those shared moments where laughter seemed to momentarily eclipse sorrow. Jack noted how easily the warmth had enveloped him, wrapping him in a blanket of familial affection absent for so long. But could it last? He instinctively leaned towards skepticism, retreating back into his cognitive dissonance, questioning if he were allowed to rebuild a connection with Maria, or if that would be an insult to Mary's memory. He set his mug down with resolve and moved toward the box that held a trove of memories. The very act tasted of bravery, but uncertainty kept swirling in his gut. As he knelt beside it, the dust swirling in the morning light mirrored the confusion clouding his thoughts. How would it feel to sift through Mary's things with two new presences in his life? With a swift motion, Jack unlatched the box. The sound felt ominous, echoing in the stillness of the room. Inside lay photographs, letters, and sentimental items that told stories of a life well lived, a life now shadowed by loss.
Each object seemed to singularly freeze time, yet not a single one held the warmth he wished to emulate in his new familial efforts. Jack grasped a small frame, a photograph of the three of them from a few seasons ago, smiles radiant and unburdened. Memories cascaded like a waterfall, laughter over meals, vacations filled with spontaneous adventures, quiet moments of understanding. They crashed into him like waves, briefly stunning him before washing away the comfort of that past moment. What struck him harder than the nostalgia was an overwhelming realization that they were all navigating uncharted territory, not unlike sailors lost at sea, searching for the lighthouse in one another, yet desperately clinging to the past. As he delved deeper, sorting through items that evoked joy and pain, Jack felt a stirring within, a growing determination to embrace change. Perhaps creating a new memory didn't require obliterating the old. Perhaps it could flourish alongside it. He fingered a small journal, one he'd often seen Mary scribbling in during quiet evenings. With an impulsive decision, he flipped it open. The familiar handwriting cascaded across the page. Reflections and musings on life, love, and family filled its pages, some passages hitting truer than the others. The entry dated just days before her passing stood out, an analysis of love and letting go, a call to embrace the future while honoring the past. As he read, resolute solidified within him. It was an affirmation from Mary herself, a guiding principle to move forward with honesty. Exhaling deeply, he decided it was time to face Maria and Lily with more than just fleeting moments or laughter. They needed to build a bridge of understanding, framed by the past, yet dynamically alive in their shared future. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, slicing through his thoughts, Lily's excited voice chiming as she rushed to answer. Reality jolted him back into the present. He put the journal aside and approached the doorway, already bracing himself to explore the next chapter he was ready to build, one infused with the complexity of love, loss, and an openness he barely understood. That was when Maria stepped through the threshold, a basket of fresh produce in tow, her eyes sparkling with ideas and mischief. "Are you ready for today's culinary adventure?"
she asked, a teasing smile playing on her lips. Jack hesitated only for a moment, an electric thrill coursing through him. Could today be the day he unveiled his journey, initiated the honest conversations once buried under grief? The pulse of his heart quickened, and a singular thought crystallized within. Perhaps this was the moment to truly engage with the living, emerging not just as a widower, but as a father and a man willing to embrace the intricate dynamics of a newly formed family.
And while he stepped forward, a flicker of doubt lingered. Would this new step invite the fresh beginning he hoped for, or would it unravel everything he had started to build with Maria and Lily? Jack took a breath, feeling the warm air of the kitchen mingle with the lingering chill of his morning reflections. Maria's radiant smile illuminated the space, infused with the vibrancy of her presence, and he instinctively felt the familiar walls of solitude begin to crack open. Today could be different, he thought. Today could mark the transition from a mere cohabitation to the genuine connection he longed for. "Absolutely," he replied, forcing a grin that felt unfamiliar yet liberating. "What's on today's menu?" Maria's eyes sparkled, and the way she moved about the kitchen instantly held a rhythm that tugged at him. He watched as she began to unpack the basket, revealing an array of colorful vegetables that ignited a myriad of scents. She placed the zucchini and ripe tomatoes on the counter, each item like a brushstroke painting a canvas filled with potential. "Let's make something vibrant, something we can all enjoy," she said, her enthusiasm palpable. "You know, cooking can be like forging relationships. You need the right ingredients, a sprinkle of patience, and a whole lot of love." Jack felt that comment pierce through his uncertainty. It wasn't merely about food for her. It was a metaphor that struck a chord deep inside him. He mentally cataloged the lessons he could learn from her as she began chopping. It wasn't just a culinary adventure, it was a chance to explore the blend of their lives. "Do you ever think about how flavors mix?" she continued, unabashed, as if she had drawn him out of his reverie. "How sometimes what you think will clash turns into something amazing, like the way you're preparing to integrate all these new flavors into your life." Her reflection on cooking resonated. He was indeed at a crossroads where past memories and present realities collided. He moved to her side, perhaps drawn by her metaphor or simply wanting to contribute. The knives she expertly wielded became an extension of his desire to make his own cuts through the thick, cloudy blanket of grief that had wrapped him for so long. "Maybe," he started, carefully selecting a cucumber to slice, "I could use some tips on how to keep things from getting burnt." His self-deprecation felt lighter in this context, and the comparison suddenly revealed a clarity he hadn't anticipated. "Burnt?" Maria chuckled, eyeing him mischievously. "That's part of the learning process. We burn a few things, don't we? We pick ourselves up, adjust the heat, and move on." She was right. He had faced this burn before. He remembered the way he had neglected caring for his own emotional needs while drowning in routines. This was about growth, both culinary and personal, learning to balance the heat without letting past failures dictate his future. As they worked side by side, the kitchen began to fill with laughter, a melody interspersed between chopping and sizzling sounds. Jack caught Lily peeking in, her fascination evident as she switched her gaze between the two adults, the fictive comfort of a family nearly complete, yet still half-formed. "Can I help?" Lily burst in, her enthusiasm echoing the same liveliness Maria brought into the room, amplifying the warmth circulating within. "Of course, darling. Come here. Can you pass me the garlic?" Jack gestured, invigorated by her presence. In that moment it dawned upon him that they were not just making a meal, they were crafting a shared experience that began to stitch their lives closer together. Lily's innocent queries about flavors and ingredients led to conversations he hadn't realized they were hungry for, sparking opportunities to impart wisdom, share a laugh, and build understanding. Jack embraced the revelations unveiling before him, the shift from grief to gratitude, from solitude to togetherness.
But as the sun began to descend, casting long shadows across their midday creation, doubts surged once more, fissures that threatened to disrupt their harmony. Were they merely filling a void, or was he risking too much? Was fostering an emerging bond with Maria and Lily, as beautiful as it felt, merely a distraction from the trauma of loss? Even as the flavors melded and the aromas intensified, he felt himself grappling with these questions, simmering just beneath the surface as the dinner table drew closer to setting. Jack wanted desperately to invite this shifting dynamic into permanence, but doubts and fears still clung tenuously to him. He had made progress, but the road ahead felt daunting, rife with uncertainty. Then Maria looked over, her eyes catching his as if sensing the growing storm inside him. Her reassuring smile deepened, recognizing his struggle without the need for words. In that loaded moment, Jack realized he wasn't just collaborating on a meal, he was negotiating with himself on a bigger scale. "Jack?" was all she said, her voice tender yet firm. He paused. The moment of truth loomed. Would he acknowledge his growing attraction to Maria and risk his heart again, or would he retreat into familiar territory, clinging to the safety of memories that provided comfort but held no future? As the steam from the cooking pot fogged up the windows, Jack wondered if he could face this new truth. And then came the dilemma. Would he take the chance to explore the burgeoning connection with Maria, or allow fear to extinguish the flame he desperately wanted to ignite? Jack's hesitation hung in the air, like the fragrant steam wafting from the pot, a palpable contrast to the vibrant atmosphere around them. Despite the warmth enveloping him, shadows of doubt clawed at his resolve. He had pieced together a semblance of a life, yet standing at the precipice of connection, the fear of falling into emotional chaos loomed ominously.
"Jack," Maria called again, her voice gentle yet commanding, reminding him that the moment necessitated an answer. A readiness emerged in her gaze, an invitation to unveil the truths that danced within him. His heart thumped in response, a rhythm that echoed his internal battle. What if this connection with Maria was merely a bridge to a deeper wilderness of grief? He exhaled slowly, contemplating the consequences of stepping forward into the light of possibility. However, as he observed her interact playfully with Lily, noticing how the little girl affectionately mimicked Maria's movements, the scene began to dissolve his defenses. Each laugh, each shared touch, pulled him further from the safe confines of his solitude. "I've been thinking," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper, yet it cut through the bustling kitchen like a knife through butter. He paused, wanting to articulate the newfound appreciation rekindled by these interactions. "It's clear that I've been shutting myself off, sort of like a pot simmering without a lid." Maria nodded, encouraging him to continue. "Meeting you both has been, well, a revelation. I realize how much I've been missing out on life, trapped in routines that don't serve me anymore. I'm afraid of the feelings I'm beginning to cultivate." The depth of his admission hung before them, raw and unrefined. For a brief moment, dread enveloped him again. What if this vulnerability would push her away? Yet Maria respected his honesty, her eyes shining with understanding rather than judgment. "Jack, feeling is part of living. Just like in cooking, you need to allow the flavors to develop. If you don't bring the heat, the dish won't come together." She might have been referring to food, but her metaphor wrapped both their realities in one tender embrace. Lily, oblivious to the undercurrents of the conversation, bounced up to them, arms full of fresh herbs. "Look, I found more to add." Her joy was infectious, encouraging a lighter atmosphere as she waved the green sprigs, a sign of the vibrant possibilities ahead. Jack couldn't help but chuckle, his heart warming in the face of this innocent enthusiasm. Perhaps the key wasn't about daring to leap into a void, but finding the balance to weave these connections carefully into his life. "I think I need to stop worrying about everything I might lose and start focusing on the joy of what I could gain." "Exactly," Maria chimed in, her excitement palpable.
You only have to take one small step at a time. Like adding just a pinch of salt, you can elevate everything around you. There was something about her passionate belief in transformation that resonated with him, stirring a desire not only to taste life's experiences, but to savor them with others.
As they shared tasks, chopping vegetables and seasoning according to Maria's playful instructions, Jack found himself considering the layers of his own identity, how the grief had taught him valuable lessons, but had also imprisoned him in isolation. He imagined this meal not just as suppers, but as a celebration of newfound courage and camaraderie. Yet lingering doubts persisted. Every new bond carried risk, especially when emotions ran so deep. He silently wrestled with the weight of his past, both a guiding force and a clinging shadow. Were Maria and Lily merely distractions from the healing he craved, or could they represent a genuine shift, a step towards something lasting? As the dish began to simmer, filling the air with an aromatic promise of success, a chilling thought pierced through his buoyancy. Would the beauty palpable in this moment withstand the trials ahead? The realization that building lasting ties might demand facing old fears sent a shiver down his spine. "Jack," Maria said again, her voice full of warmth, yet laced with seriousness, "we can't pretend that it won't be difficult, but letting go of the past is essential. You can't stir the pot while holding on to the edge." Her words resonated deeply, urging him to confront both his vulnerabilities and the intoxicating potential for connection. The truth was, he could both grieve and embrace new love, if only he found the courage to blend those ingredients together. As laughter bubbled in the kitchen, illuminating the space with life, he realized it was time to confront his fears head-on, to decide whether this vibrant life would envelop him or slip away into the shadows once more. In that simmering moment of uncertainty, Jack felt a stirring. Perhaps action awaited on the other side of fear. The fight for authenticity had begun. Now he just needed the resolve to face whatever would come next. And what would a step forward look like when burdened by the weight of his past? With that simmering question, Jack knew he needed to dig deeper, both into himself and into the bonds forming right before him. And with courage blossoming, he was ready to explore just how far he could reach. The kitchen buzzed with pleasant chaos as Jack found himself swept up in the moment, the scent of sautéing vegetables merging with the emotional heat he felt inside. Despite the lingering shadows of his past, the colors and textures around him began to reshape his perspective, lifting him from the dull constraints that had long shackled him. Every slice of the knife against the cutting board echoed a part of himself he had buried. A rhythm of rediscovery beat steadily within him, urging him to embrace the unfamiliar. Each ingredient added to the pot was a reminder that he was in control, not just of the meal, but of the path ahead. Yet a concern twisted in his gut like the knots in a poorly cooked strand of pasta. He was building something beautiful with Maria and Lily, but how could he ensure it wouldn't boil over? "What if I mess this up?" he thought, the anxiety bubbling beneath the surface like the water on the stove. Maria cast him a sideways glance, as if she sensed the storm brewing. "Jack, remember, cooking, like life, requires some messiness. Mistakes lead to delicious surprises," she called lightly, stirring the pot as she spoke. Her words struck a chord within him, lighting the embers of his courage. If he could be resilient in the kitchen, why not in life? "Right," he muttered, half to himself and half to her. He settled into the rhythm, letting the chopping and stirring become a balm for his doubts. The spices scattered across the table served as a metaphor for the myriad of experiences he had yet to embrace. With each pinch he added, he questioned how long he could hide behind measured ingredients in a life meant to be savored recklessly. The laughter spilling from Maria and Lily softened the edges of his reservations. There was a carefree quality about them that undeniably drew him in, and he couldn't help but wonder if he could find a piece of that joy within himself.
But each smile was laced with the fear that he would falter, disappointing them just as he had once disappointed himself. As dinner began to come together, Jack's past was tugging at him, an unwanted guest at the table. He could feel familiar scenes playing out in his mind, the solitude he chose, the heartache that shadowed him, and the grief that had defined him for so long. "Life doesn't wait for us to heal, Jack." Maria's voice broke through his thoughts again, now charged with a deeper understanding. "You have to embrace it now, or you'll end up stuck in a flavorless routine." His heart quickened. Was he holding on to his grief like a crutch, one that prevented him from stepping fully into the light Maria and Lily offered? How do I do that? He wondered if she could see through to the very core of him, the vulnerable spots he had worked so hard to shield. "I think it starts with honesty," she replied softly, casting her gaze to the bubbling pot as if it held the answers. "Tell us what you fear. You can't stir the pot effectively if you fear the touch of the handle." For a moment, Jack hesitated. Could he really articulate the depths of his fear without unraveling everything? It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, daring the plunge into the unknown. But in the warmth of the kitchen, with the laughter of an embraceable little girl and the steady presence of a woman who had become a catalyst for change, he felt a shift inside. He remembered a lesson from the past. Nothing could be learned without risking failure. Finally, he decided, what if I lose myself again? The question hung heavy between them. Would he lose his identity, his purpose? The very thought of relinquishing control felt like an insurmountable obstacle. Maria's response was steady and genuine.
All great transformations require letting go. You can weave new threads into your tapestry without losing the colors you cherish. Her perspective expanded his vision. Perhaps his past could coexist with a brighter, more vibrant present. That thought sparked something deep within, a flicker of possibility. As the aroma of the meal enveloped them, he felt a surge of resolve. Perhaps tonight would be the first step toward weaving a narrative worthy of the new connections he was forging. He could feel the walls around him beginning to crack, and a sliver of excitement emerged alongside the lingering trepidation. With newfound determination, Jack faced Maria and Lily. "Okay," he said, allowing a smile to break through. "Let's share not just a meal, but our truths too." But just as the words left his lips, a knock on the door disrupted the moment. Jack's heart raced again, fear clutching at him like an unexpected chill. What awaited on the other side loomed ominously. Was it a lingering reminder of his past? Or could it be another opportunity waiting to be uncovered? The knock reverberated through the kitchen, slicing the air thick with aromatic promise. Jack froze, his thoughts spiraling into a whirlpool of dread and anticipation. Who could it be? The weight of uncertainty threatened to pull him under. The laughter and warmth once filling the room faded, replaced by a sharp silence, as both Maria and Lily turned to him expectantly. "Maybe it's just a neighbor," Maria suggested, her brows slightly furrowing as she stepped away from the stove. Yet the optimism in her voice did little to quell the storm brewing inside Jack. He hesitated, caught in a tumult of conflicting emotions. The urge to retreat battled with a burgeoning sense of responsibility toward Maria and Lily. He couldn't allow his past to hijack this moment, this chance at something real. After a moment, he pushed away from the counter and took a few measured steps toward the door, his heart thumping against his ribs like a prisoner seeking escape. As he turned the doorknob, his mind raced. What if it was someone from his past, a ghost from a life he'd tried so hard to leave behind? Or worse, someone who would disrupt the fragile joy he had found in their company? The door swung open, revealing a familiar face, Rick, an old acquaintance from the past. The surprise on Jack's face mirrored the mixed emotions clawing at him. Rick had been a part of his life back when grief had settled like a heavy blanket, daring Jack to break free. The weight of unresolved history pressed on him, blurring the boundaries of what he had rebuilt in recent days. "Hey, man," Rick greeted, forcing a smile that barely reached his eyes. "I didn't expect to see you here. Just thought I'd check in."
Jack stood still, processing the implications of this unexpected visit. Nice to see you, he said, but the words tasted stale as they slipped past his lips. What could he possibly say? Rick shifted uncomfortably, eyes flickering past Jack toward the warmth inside. Smells amazing in there. You cooking? Before he could stop himself, Jack gave a nod, though the casualness of the moment clashed with the tension coursing through his veins. Yeah, just trying my hand at something new. Rick's face lit up with enthusiasm, but rather than being uplifting, it felt like a weight added to an already precarious balance. Good for you, man. I remember when you used to say you'd never cook. Those words felt like a jagged reminder of who he used to be, a shadow Jack thought he had outgrown. The walls he'd built around himself began to tremble again, threatening to collapse as the memories surged forth, the loneliness, the retreat into grief. Maria approached cautiously, curiosity burning in her gaze. Who's at the door? Jack cleared his throat, the sound raspy against the building tension. It's just a friend from before. His attempt to keep it casual fell flat as he felt their eyes box him in, making it painfully apparent that this meeting wouldn't be easy. Hey, I should meet your cooking crew, said Rick, stepping inside with an air of unwarranted confidence. Jack's heart sunk. This moment, meant to be shared with Maria and Lily, now teetered on the edge of discomfort. The atmosphere thickened as Jack felt exposed, caught between two worlds he couldn't seem to reconcile. He had taken a step toward healing, but here was a reminder that some wounds could easily reopen with one unexpected encounter. Maria approached cautiously, curiosity burning in her gaze. Who's at the door? Jack cleared his throat, the sound raspy against the building tension. It's just a friend from before. His attempt to keep it casual fell flat as he felt their eyes box him in, making it painfully apparent that this meeting wouldn't be easy. Hey, I should meet your cooking crew, said Rick, stepping inside with an air of unwarranted confidence. Jack's heart sunk. This moment, meant to be shared with Maria and Lily, now teetered on the edge of discomfort. The atmosphere thickened as Jack felt exposed, caught between two worlds he couldn't seem to reconcile. He had taken a step toward healing, but here was a reminder that some wounds could easily reopen with one unexpected encounter. Maria smiled, but Jack noticed a flicker of hesitation behind her eyes. The casual camaraderie he had feared was morphing into a silent judgment. He stepped forward, silently urging Maria to embrace the moment without knowing how to navigate through the turbulence. But there was something deeper at play here. As Jack stood at the crossroads of choice, welcoming Rick into their space or shutting the door on the past, he understood that this was not just about hospitality. It was about his commitment to embracing vulnerability and the possibilities that came with it. As he looked at both Maria and Lily, the urge to defend his newfound happiness ignited a faint spark of defiance within him. We're just about to have dinner. Care to join us? Jack felt the weight of his invitation linger, testing the threads of trust he had begun to weave with Maria and Lily against the past he struggled to unravel. A decision hung in the air, and he sensed the delicate balance shifting, already anticipating the repercussions. Would Rick's presence shatter the warmth they had started to build, or would it reveal new layers of understanding? As he stood at the threshold, Jack realized that perhaps allowing his past to shadow the present may be the very thing that sparked reflection and growth. Unbeknownst to him, the choices made tonight would challenge him in ways he could not foresee.
And as Rick stepped further into their world, Jack intuitively braced for the tumultuous journey of reconciling the past with the present. The tension tightened around him, and as he glanced toward the kitchen, the aroma of the meal felt like a burgeoning promise, even against the rising tide of uncertainty. Secrets and truths lingered unspoken, whispering of a future yet to unfold. What awaited next could be the crossroads that defined his journey forward, and there was no backing out now. As Rick stepped fully into the kitchen, an unwelcome fog of nostalgia cloaked the room, wrapping itself around Jack like an uncomfortable embrace. The cheerful ambiance Maria had cultivated met an abrupt halt, giving way to an unvoiced disquiet. Jack's heart raced, oscillating between the warmth of his current life and the chill of the past his acquaintance exuded so effortlessly. Rick's eyes were drawn to the simmering pot on the stove, his enthusiasm undeterred. "Man, this looks great. You really did a number on that recipe. What's your secret?" The sincerity in Rick's tone pierced through Jack's tension, a reminder of a simpler time steeped in camaraderie, yet it felt like a tether to a version of himself he wished to leave behind. Lily stepped back, her gaze flitting nervously between the two men. Jack caught her eye, and for a sliver of a moment he saw the question in her expression. Was this friendship worth the risk? He quickly snuffed out the impulse to shield her, burying the instinct to retreat further into his own burgeoning world without Rick's shadows. "Just picking up a few tips from cooking videos," Jack replied, forcing an eager tone he didn't quite possess. "I'm still learning, though," he added, glancing to the floor, avoiding Rick's penetrating look. "Learning, huh?" Rick chuckled. "Look at you, stepping out of your comfort zone. It's good to see, man. Really it is." His voice held a tone that suggested more than mere encouragement. It bore the weight of judgment veiled in camaraderie. Jack's response remained lodged in his throat, choked by the tension of expected confrontation. Lily, who had remained quiet, interjected, tilting her head inquisitively. "Do you cook too, Rick?" There was innocent curiosity in her voice, but Jack caught the way her wide eyes darted between him and the man who had once invaded his past so effortlessly. "Not like Jack here." Rick's fingers shot up, almost accusatory. "I'm more of a takeout guy. It's a skill, I can tell you that." He chuckled again, but Jack felt the corners of his thoughts crumpling under the weight of Rick's presence. Was it the longing for acceptance, or the pleading reminder of who he used to be? The past churned in his mind like a storm at sea, and he questioned whether Rick's lightness masked deeper, unresolved grievances. As the conversation turned to casual banter about food, Jack's focus drifted inward. He felt a hand on his back, Maria, silently supporting him, pulling him toward the present. The warmth radiating from her touch steadied him, but the undercurrent of unease remained. It was a balancing act, resisting the urge to shut down while still offering Rick an opportunity to feel welcomed. "Anything we should know about you and Jack?" Maria suggested lightly, though the way she dropped Rick's name felt weighted with undertones of probing. It was a calculated move that caught Jack off guard, igniting a thread of tension threaded through the air. His cordial mask slipped. "What's there to know, Rick?" He realized he was challenging the illusion they had built. Rick needed a reality check of the man Jack had evolved into, and perhaps, more importantly, Jack needed to confront the possibility that his past was not solely an intruder, but could serve as context for his growth. Without waiting for Rick's reply, Jack continued, having found a burst of courage. "I've changed. We both have. I doubt we have much in common anymore." The conviction in his voice startled him, yet it landed heavily in the room. For a moment, a genuine silence hovered, only broken by the faint bubbling of the pot still simmering on the stove. Rick's facade flickered momentarily, revealing the underlying discomfort he could evoke. "Right, you have a new life now." There was no mistaking the hesitation behind Rick's smile, the unspoken acknowledgement of an unfamiliar divide that had grown between them. "Yeah, I do," Jack asserted, breathing in a mix of defiance and relief. "And I'm not looking back, buddy." In that moment, he felt the air shift, an empowerment emerging from the core of his identity. Rick stared, brow knitted, as if he was evaluating a lost friend instead of an acquaintance, and Jack could sense the tension creeping back, now sharpened. This confrontation had unearthed both fear and strength within him. His resolve was no longer just about protecting the happiness he had found with Maria and Lily. It had transcended into a commitment to reclaiming his own story.
Would Rick concede to the reality that Jack was no longer the man from their shared past? As silence filled the kitchen, a space that had once been a refuge, Jack felt the ground beneath him shift. Would it be enough to close the door on history, or would past attachments find a way to weave into the fabric of his present? The dinner awaited, but the true feast seemed to lie in the uncharted territory they were only beginning to explore. Jack braced himself, ready for the possibilities that lay ahead, ready to dismantle any notion that he would ever succumb to the shadows again. A new challenge had emerged, and as Jack prepared to navigate through both the nostalgia and the new horizons of his relationship with Maria and Lily, he sensed another confrontation looming just beyond the horizon. What further revelations would Rick bring forth?
Would the evening end in an unanticipated reconciliation, or would it unravel another layer of Jack's fortified walls? The roots of uncertainty reappeared, enticing yet haunting. Underneath the glowing lights in the kitchen, Jack felt the oscillation of anticipation and dread intertwining within him. The smell of simmering vegetables wafted through the air, but his mind was consumed by the specter of his past standing uninvited in his home. Rick's presence conjured a fusion of nostalgia and discomfort, challenging everything Jack had begun to construct with Maria and Lily. "Let's not make this awkward, shall we?" Rick said, breaking the silence with an awkward chuckle. It was a shield, but Jack recognized it for what it was, an attempt to keep the peace, or perhaps a facade to mask the impending conflict. Jack straightened, steeling himself. This was his moment to establish boundaries. "Rick, it's great to see you, but I've changed," Jack stated, his voice steady yet firm. A silence settled briefly as Rick raised an eyebrow, as if weighing Jack's words against the memories they shared. Jack continued, embracing the warmth of the kitchen and the family atmosphere it exuded. "This isn't just about cooking, it's about rebuilding life after loss, something I've been working hard at." Lily, misunderstanding the tension, attempted to lighten the mood. "Are you going to cook together? We could all make dinner a team." Her youthful enthusiasm resonated, but Jack sensed Maria's quick glance at him, an unspoken recognition of the delicate balance they were trying to forge. "Dinner with everyone sounds like a plan," Jack replied, anchoring himself to the hope that this shared experience could undercut the wall of unease between them. He turned to Rick, whose expression now mingled curiosity with skepticism. "Let's collaborate on the meal, but maybe keep our discussions on lighter topics." Rick shrugged, uncertainty washing over his face. "Sure, Ran, whatever's clever." Jack didn't miss the slight hesitation lacing Rick's words. It felt like a battle of wills, one that revealed the emerging autonomy Jack had claimed in the wake of grief. As they moved back to the counter, the uncertainty began to thaw under the laughter shared between them. Jack focused on the culinary tasks, blending spices and flavors into the ongoing meal. Each addition of basil and rosemary was symbolic, a reminder that he was capable of crafting something beautiful out of uncertainty. Rick, on his part, attempted to engage by recounting old stories, fractured reflections that spoke of shared adventures and mistakes. Jack found himself balancing nostalgia with a new mantra of self-assurance. "That was a different chapter of my life, Rick. Right now, I'm co-authoring a new journey with my family." "Family, huh?" Rick entered the rhythm with a sense of mild disbelief. "You think cooking can really make you feel complete again?" Jack felt the edges of his resolve waver, but the reviving warmth of the kitchen pulse reminded him of all the potential blossoming in his life. "Not just cooking," Jack replied, "but sharing. Sharing with Maria, with Lily. It's transformative." Before he even realized it, an idea formed in his mind, a notion of poetic irony. How about a challenge? Let's see who can create the best dish using these ingredients. A playful glimmer ignited in Jack's eyes, pulling forth a flicker of competitive spirit. "Loser cleans up." He redirected the atmosphere, determined to grab the reins back from his spiraling thoughts. Rick, cornered into the spirit of the moment, accepted the challenge with an abrupt chuckle.
You think you can beat me? Bring it on. The laughter was fractured but enveloping, nudging Jack toward liberation from the shadows of memory. The kitchen buzzed with light-hearted tension as the three of them worked, moving in tandem until dinner morphed into playful chaos. Maria and Lily joined with an exuberant flair, dispelling Rick's earlier edge and allowing Jack's laughter to rise. Yet deep down, Jack recognized that although he was rediscovering joy amid the warmth, the intricate web of relationships they were all weaving would require more than just laughter. It demanded vulnerability. Jack had to acknowledge that aside from collaboration, there existed a myriad of emotions lying beneath the surface, anxiously waiting to unveil themselves. As dinner was eventually served, Jack took pride in the culinary creation they had emerged with, not merely a meal, but a testament to the possibility of coexistence. Glimpses of connection appeared with each shared bite, laughter lifting the atmosphere as Rick and Jack cautiously navigated the remnants of their past in shared stories. Through these interactions, Jack felt the weight of acknowledgement. Nothing unseen could bind him. Every jab at his past felt like a testament to how far he had already come, how building a new life didn't mean dismantling the old one, it was merely reshaping it. The evening rolled on with vibrant conversations, but lingering questions still haunted Jack. Could he fully integrate Rick's presence into his new narrative without losing the forward momentum? As the laughter echoed through the home, Jack knew he needed to carve boundaries not just with Rick, but with himself. Embracing this complex layer of relationships was vital to establishing the peace of his past with the potency of his future. In this snowballing moment of confrontation, Jack couldn't ignore that he was indeed standing at a transformative crossroads. He had emerged stronger than before, bearing a sense of unconditional hope for the possibilities ahead. Tonight resonated with hope, but it was the determination to face his fears head-on that would ultimately cement this particular chapter of his life, the one filled with love, laughter, and vulnerability.
As he watched Maria and Lily exchange a wink, Jack understood the undeniable truth. Blurred lines between new beginnings and the past could yield something unexpectedly beautiful, and his heart ached to hold on to that reality. Jack knew that while difficult conversations lay ahead, they would be but stepping stones guiding them toward a promising future. His resolve reinforced. He was ready to face whatever awaited beyond this evening, the ebb and flow of life seemingly spilling over the boundaries he had initially imposed upon himself. Jack felt a peaceful conviction settle in his heart. No matter what happened next, he was aligned with the fervor to preserve these connections. Family, growth, and understanding were the corners of life he had long been missing. The crucible of the kitchen, a place of nourishment and the creations of their shared lives, had finally bridged the two worlds. With new clarity, Jack leaned into the moment, understanding it was more than food bringing them together. It was the rekindling of trust in the life he dared to forge anew. As the laughter continued to meld their lives together, he sensed that this was the sweetness of progress, a home filled not just with memories, but with a promise that crackled with possibility. And with each passing second, Jack knew he was ready to embrace whatever came next. So as the evening settled into gentle laughter and the warmth of renewal, Jack felt the heartbeat of his renewed life and the transformative power of love in simple moments, and he could finally breathe again. Now was the time for growth. Now was the time for connection. Now was his moment to shine. The journey lay slow ahead, but Jack was no longer afraid to take the first step. His new chapter had begun. And so, dear viewers, as this journey unfolds, I need you to join me in this exploration of personal growth and transformation. You need to subscribe now to ensure you never miss an episode of our concurrent emotional journeys. Leave a like now to maximize our reach. Your support drives us forward. Comment below your thoughts, reactions, and theories about what happens next. Your insights are invaluable to this community. and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who might need to witness this powerful transformation. Together, let's cultivate a haven of storytelling and growth. Don't wait even one more second to show your support.